Thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm Chris Bianchi, and today it is tax day. It is Monday, April the 18th. Again, that means it is tax day. So if you haven't done them yet, well, don't worry. We've got a little bit of help for you. Samantha Galvin, who is an associate professor of the practice of taxation at the University of Denver, joins us now for a few tips and tricks for those of you who I'm a procrastinator myself. So don't worry if you procrastinate a little bit too long, but if you've got a little bit late here in the process, don't worry, we got some of those tips. So Samantha, thank you so much for joining us here today for some of those tips and tricks here for tax day here on filing day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I agree, don't worry too much if you have procrastinated to this point. If you are planning to file an extension, you should do so by today, by e-filing, or you can send it by mail, but it does need to be postmarked by 11:59 p.m. So, post offices close earlier than that. So if you're planning to mail it, you should do it as soon as possible.
I guess brings up a great point there. So with some of those extensions, it is not too late to get one clearly. Do you mind kind of getting into a bit more detail about how you would go about doing that?
Sure, you can definitely e-file it, and you can go to the IRS website and e-file it through their free file program. I think that would be the easiest way, but if people have challenges with that, filing the form, which the form number is escaping me, but if you Google tax extension, the form will come up, and then you can mail that as well if you need to.
Let's say you're a bit more ambitious and you want to get your taxes done today. Do you have any recommended services or best ways to quickly get those taxes done before 11:59 tonight?
Yeah, so the free file program can also be used to actually file your return. If you make less than 70, I think it's 77,000 this year, you can file using regular tax software like TurboTax, or there are other companies that make their software available for free on the IRS's website. If you make over that, you can fill in the forms yourself, which can be a little more challenging if it's not something you're used to, but it's possible to still get the return prepared today on your own. There are also volunteer income tax assistance sites, and they are still operating. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are trying to get their taxes done at the last minute, but they are also available to help people for free. The one in Denver, you can Google volunteer income tax assistance sites and find one that's close to you.
Honestly, a service I did not know that existed, so that is really good. Hopefully, for some of our viewers out there to potentially see that. Is there anything new? And I know we're probably getting a little late in the game for this, but with federal and state taxes, I know those do change year over year. Is there anything dramatically different about this year's compared to last year's?
Yes, there is actually a decent amount that is different, and a lot of it was, spurred by the pandemic. But something that is unique to Colorado filers is that victims of the wildfires in Boulder County, you have to be living in Boulder County or have a business in Boulder County, have an automatic extension until May 16th. And that is for filing and for paying. So that's unique to Colorado and new this year. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier is the extension only applies to filing. It doesn't apply to paying. So you have to pay what you think you owe by today to avoid penalties and interest. So you kind of have to guess how much you might owe and pay that amount by today to avoid those. But the extension for wildfire victims extends both the filing deadline and the payment deadline until May 16th. New as far as tax law is concerned was the advanced child tax credit. And that was a credit that's only available for this year. And it was something that was paid in advance in part. It started in July. The government paid out advanced child tax credit payments to eligible individuals, which are adults with children under the age of 17 or 17 and under. There's a bigger amount available for children under 6, but those payments were made starting in July, and the second half of the child tax credit on your tax return. So even if you don't have a filing obligation, you'll want to do that just so you can get that additional money. But there are income thresholds on who's eligible to receive the child tax credit. The other unique thing to this year was that the government paid out a third economic impact payment at the beginning of 2021. People may have received it at different times, but that's something you also want to reconcile on your tax return. So if you received it, you won't get it again. But if you didn't receive it, you should claim it on your return as a recovery rebate credit. That we have heard that you shouldn't claim it if you did receive it, because that can cause significant delays in the processing of your tax return and your refund. So it's best to kind of make sure that you didn't actually receive it before you claim that you didn't.
A lot of differences between this year and last year, it sounds like. I guess one final overarching question. Let's say somebody's watching this and it's 10 o'clock and they've got about 2 hours to go about doing things. Would you recommend they file an extension or try and quickly get those taxes done? What would, I know it's a bit, let's say it's a standard tax return. What would be your general advice in that situation?
I am a tax law professor, and it still takes me probably 30 to 45 minutes to prepare my returns. So I would say if you are worried that you're going to get something incorrect, it's better to file an extension and make sure you can get it correct. It'll make sure that the processing occurs more quickly and that you get your refund more quickly. And the one other thing I forgot to mention is that if you are due a refund, you don't actually have to file an extension, but you want to make sure that you're due a refund. You want to be certain about that. But there's no penalty for late filing if you're due a refund, because essentially the government's just holding on to your money that you're legally entitled to. So they don't penalize you for allowing them to do that.
Oh, interesting. I never thought of that if you are, if the government owes you, that you can, I guess, file later than usual. It makes sense,
Yeah.
but I hadn't thought of that. But I guess any final thoughts or tips or tricks for people who might be filing late here?
I would say be patient. IRS is still running behind. They're saying right now it's taking 21 days to get refunds out to people after the return's been processed. But, again, I think it could take longer based on my experience with IRS. They are just kind of moving slowly with everything. The other maybe important piece is if you are due a refund, you decide not to file, soon, you only have 3 years from the due date of the return to claim that refund. So don't let longer than 3 years go by without filing your return.
All right, 3 years, the magic number, and 11:59, I suppose, the other magic number for filing those taxes tonight, unless you do it by the Postal Service. Then you have to get that done by 4 or 5, whenever the post office closes. But Samantha, thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your time to kind of enlighten us a little bit on tax day here on this Monday.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it.
Again, Professor Samantha Galvin is Associate Professor of the Practice of Taxation at the University of Denver. Thanks again for your time here today.